Very good evening to everyone. We are here with yet another virtual journey exploration series of session. And today here we are with Dr. Archana Kabra. She have designated as consultant psychiatrist, homeopath, counselor, and hypnotherapist. And she is the founder of Dr. Kabra's Body and Mind Clinic. And she's practicing in that from 2011. She was associate professor at SSVP Hata and currently pursuing PhD in homeopathy from the college SBAHMC Chandwad. She is married and mother of two young kids, wife, daughter, and daughter-in-law, and leading a very good life. She has an experience of vice principal at the DUP HMC at Jalgaon in 2017-18, and she have achieved multiple awards. I'll just name one or two recent awards. She was nominated, conferred with Bharat Gaurav Puruskar by KTK, Outstanding Achievers in New Delhi. Sorry, New Delhi in 2021. Finalist of Miss India World 2019-20. Finalist of Miss India Worldwide 2018-19, and speaker at IIMUN Jalgaon chapter. With this small introduction, ma'am, with the different phases of your life, I would like to introduce you for this series of session. Thank you, ma'am, for joining this platform.
I thank you for this platform. And thanks a lot for introducing me, though I would really like to make a few corrections with that. The first thing is, I had participated, I was the finalist of Mrs. India. It's not Miss India, Mrs. India last year, and the finalist of Mrs. India Worldwide last year. So yes, I did everything, and most of my accomplishments are after I have got married. I am married since 10 years now, and I have two beautiful kids, like you've already said. Yes, it is indeed a task, because after getting married, we have this sort of an attitude ki shadi ho gayi, sab ho gaya. Now what is left in your life? It's just your family and bringing your kids up and giving them good, nurturing them well, and that's it. But I took a different path altogether, and I have a list of achievements in a list of different fields. Yes, I do have it. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this platform.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And yeah, be sorry, like I have missed if something in the introduction. You have covered it up very well.
That's really okay.
So, so I'll start. The first question to you: what was the first thought in your mind to choose your career in homeopathy when you have started your career?
Okay. Let me be very frank and very honest. Okay, being a doctor was my childhood dream. Along with me, it was the dream of my parents as well. We didn't have any single doctor in our family, and my parents always thought that I had the acumen, the brains, and the attitude to be a doctor. So I did my best, and I think, like every other homeopathic doctor's story, barring a few, I landed up into homeopathy because I could not score enough marks to get a seat into MBBS. But after that, I really feel blessed now that yes, I am into homeopathy. Because I am into homeopathy now, I have really understood the difference of the homeopathy practice, the difference and the satisfaction that I get as a homeopath, because I know that I am giving my patients the perfect cure, or the deep healing, the overall healing, the holistic healing that I can give with homeopathy. Probably, I think if I was an allopathic doctor, and actually I wouldn't want to label anybody or any pathy. Everybody has its own good effects, but if I would have been that, probably this satisfaction wouldn't have been there. So yeah, that is my journey on why I got into homeopathy in the first place.
Yes, ma'am. It was great that we can understand your transition, but how you have changed the transition after your marriage?
Okay. So I was born and brought up in Mumbai. My education and everything has happened in Mumbai, and everybody of us know what Mumbai is, what sort of a city Mumbai is. And while I was doing my MD in psychiatry, now psychiatry is a specialized branch in homeopathy itself. So while I was doing my MD, this arranged marriage thing of ladka dekhne aana and everything happened. I liked this guy, and at that time, I didn't know from where he actually belonged, because my entire world was concise that the entire world is like Mumbai. There is nothing like interiors. I really felt that, yeah, everybody who's wanting to be a doctor should should be living in a place, or should be in a place which is like a metro city. I don't know, I had these preconceptions because never ever had I had a face to face with anybody who was really from interiors or something like that. So this guy from Jalgaon, he came. I liked this guy. He liked me, and I said yes for getting married. And when I came here in Jalgaon, now let me tell you, Jalgaon is a small city in Maharashtra, and it is we can call it a tier 3 or a tier 4 city. Okay, and being very frank, there are no malls even. There are no, I mean, there is no even a single mall over here. So we can understand that the tier 2 or tier 3, tier 4 city, what happens here. So coming from Mumbai into a small city is itself a tragedy for a lot of women. But then I had this in mind that since I have made this decision, because my parents believed in me always, and they said it's your decision at the end of the day, you have to live your life. So since I had made the decision, I came here, I settled here, and it's 10 years now, and I don't even feel that I'm not in Mumbai, apart from the entertainment part of it. But yes, my life is so busy even here. And after I got married, I came to understand that it really doesn't matter if whether we are in a smaller city or in a bigger city or in a metro city for that matter. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is the exposure. Okay, how well we are exposed to the outer world. But it does matter what your zeal is. Even if you belong to a metro city, if you don't have the zeal, you would not be able to take up the opportunities that are coming your way. And even if I am here in a smaller city, I will it's very likely for me to take up all the opportunities that are coming my way. And that is the reason I could accomplish so much in the last 10 years, more than what I have accomplished in when I was in Mumbai.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So it was a great. Then how you have founded your career with that clinic name under your name, and it is running from last 9 years. So how it is going through, and how are the changes you are taking for the patients?
Yeah, okay. So my clinic name is Dr. Kabra's Body and Mind Clinic. My husband is also a homeopathic physician. He is specialized into pediatrics. I am specialized in psychiatry, and that is where the name comes as Body and Mind. So everything around the mind is being taken care of by me, and everything around the body is being taken care of by my husband. And here, after we got married, this is how we came down to the name, because we wanted to give the world this holistic viewpoint. Whenever we go to some doctor, we usually find that there is some certain specialization present. Might not be some other specialization might be present over there. Right. So if I talk about some body illness, and along with the body illness, definitely my mind is also going to be affected. But what happens is I don't find anything to help my mind. But yeah, my body, I will definitely get results from there. But then what about the mind? And that is why we came up with this concept of body and mind clinic, where under one roof, you will get everything. You will get a holistic healing, considering your body, considering your mind, and considering everything, even your soul. So yes, that is why we came up with this sort of a setup.
Yes, ma'am. So there is a great journey you have transitioned, like from a doctor, from an entrepreneur, or a modeling. So which part of journey you think that would be a motivational part for every student who are going to watch this?
Okay. I think my entire life would be, each and every part of this journey has made me what I am today. And each and every part of this journey is equally important for me. And I think each and every part of this journey should be motivational. Now, see, it's like so varied. I am a homeopath. I am a psychiatrist, and I went into Mrs. India. I have done modeling in for a few brands, which are like good brands like Lakme, Audi, and I am pursuing my PhD also right now. Again, I am a fitness freak. Rather than a fitness freak, I can say in this city, in this district, entire Jalgaon district and North Maharashtra district, I am the fitness icon. That is what people call me here. Now, after my deliveries, my 2 deliveries, I had put on a lot of weight, which was almost around 90 kgs. And in a year's time, I managed to reduce it by 30 kgs. So yes, that was a great transition. So I think this entire life and all these achievements, all these accomplishments, and all the ups and downs that I have faced in this entire 10 years, each of it would be very inspiring for everybody. When I look at myself, I feel inspired too, because I know myself, what I was, what I have become, where I have come, how long I have come. I really feel it doesn't really matter which place you belong. It only matters on what zeal you have, what attitude you have towards your life and everybody around you. That is what really, really matters. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That insight is really necessary for all of us to understand. I'll take you to your college days. What are the different learning phases and approach to explore in your journey? Because in college, we do have 4.5 years of time. So, in that 4.5 years, what are the learning phases and what are your approaches to those learning phases?
Okay. So, being very clear, my college days were 5.5 years for undergraduation, which includes 4.5 years of study and 1 year of internship, right? And then it was 3 years of MD, and that was all back to back. There was no break in between. So, overall, it was 8.5 years. And there have been lots and lots of learnings, primarily at the personal level, and yes, of course, at the social level. Like I told you, I was in Mumbai, so the exposure experiences are too many over there. I had certain physical issues as well. At a personal level, let me be very honest. At a personal level, I belong to a conservative Maheshwari family. So yes, there were a lot of I would not call them disturbances, but yes, there were a lot of ups and downs considering family, considering higher studies. My parents are not really well educated, but yes, they were quite supportive every time. But the society and so many things along. Yet, after fighting with all of them, I had certain physical issues as well. And I used to suffer from a certain type of autoimmune arthritis. I had to fight with that. I had to fight with social pressures, and I had to fight with examination stresses and college stresses. There were a lot of learnings, lots of learnings actually. Um, when I came into my MD also, there were a lot of discrepancies between juniors and seniors and stuff like that. So, and I think this happens in all colleges, in all institutions, like juniors and seniors ke beech mein, there is always a tiff or some sort of a cold war going on. So yeah, there was a lot of learnings even then. And I think all those things, they help you shape yourself. They help you be better individuals when you are out of all that, when you look behind, and then we realize that, yeah, wo sab to masti tha, wo sab that actually doesn't have any foreboding right now, apart from, yes, if it has actually caused you some severe grave psychological disturbances. But I if you look back, Whatever you are right now is definitely shaped by what you were before, and whatever is happening with you right now is probably going to help you in whatever you're going to be in your future. It definitely helps. And just take it. If you don't feel it's right, don't agree with it. If you feel it's correct, if you feel it's good, if you feel that it's satisfying, doing it helps you, or doing it feels you more at peace, do it. Just do it.
Definitely. We should do it what we believe or what we have to do. My next question would be, you said you are a fitness enthusiast. Okay, so
Yeah.
suppose a session of 100 people is having different kind of mindset of very people in varying of ages also. So how do you approach? What are the approaches to deal with these people to have more interest on the fitness side, on their diet, on nutrition side?
Okay, a class of variable mindsets, and I have to deal with their mindsets first, so that they would actually agree with whatever the speaker is saying. Why? If I have to face such a class, I would really give the example of the COVID situation right now. Currently, each one of us have really understood the importance of physical fitness and keeping yourself sane at the mind and the body level and at the soul level. So, yeah, this will be one important part, or one important thing where I would like to suggest to them, or I would like to tell them that how important it is to be physically fit. More physically fit is a different thing, and being healthy is a different thing, and being thin and look like a model is a different thing. It's not necessary that you are looking like a model, that means you are healthy and that means you are fit, or you are fit so you can look like a model, or you can look like those TV ads. Okay, being physically fit is where you can do anything you like at any point in time. Okay, so even if you are 60 and you want to play football with your grandchildren, nothing could stop you from doing that. That means you are physically fit. When you are healthy, that means you are healthy at all levels, including your mind and soul. So, yes, if I have to talk to a class of 100 people of varying mindsets, probably who wouldn't believe in the concept of fitness, I would definitely ask them one question. Are you fit enough, or do you think you can just run for 1 kilometer right now, or 2 kilometers right now, or just jump 300 to 400 skip rope jumps right now without feeling tired or without having aches and pains in your legs? Is that possible, and do you think it is necessary? Or the other question would be, suppose you are in your house and God forbid if it has caught fire and you have to really run out of the house, taking care of each and every member of your family. How physically fit are you to take care of such a scenario? Because once you're physically fit, your mind also starts functioning well. And when your mind functions well, there is a proper coordination between body and the mind. Definitely things turn out to be much, much, much better, way better than it is usually expected.
Thank you so much, ma'am, because it's a very connective answer for me, because as to understand if a person a different kind of mindset and we have to deal with that. A student of becoming a doctor would have to learn all these things to understand how you have to take a class of 100 people. So thank you so much, ma'am. And my next question would be, you are a mother of two children. So when a person approaches you, they do ask a question: when you have increased your weight, how you want to deal with that? And that period of time, your mindset was not stable, maybe, and how you have to deal with that mindset, and you are taking the classes, you are dealing with the patients too. So different mindset with the different approaches, but how you have taken all these things in your journey.
Yeah, uh, that period definitely has been quite tensive. Um, being very honest, when we got married, my father-in-law passed away, and he passed away because of cancer. And we know how expensive cancer is, right? So there was a lot of issues, and at that moment, for me and my husband, it was important that we laid down a good foundation and settled ourselves first, socially, economically, financially, and with each other emotionally as well. So I think all this had become a major reason for my weight increase. And then two pregnancies, and then okay, we bought our house and everything, and then there is like house loans and all of that stuff. And yeah, it does take a toll on health. It always take a toll on health, and of course not only the physical health but the mental health also. And with all of this, after my second pregnancy, after 2 years after my second pregnancy, I started developing symptoms of hypertension. And I was young at that time. I guess maybe 3 years ago. I was young at that time. And that's when I realized that no, this is getting too much, and my mind and body are not capable of taking care of itself now. So I have to do something. When I visited my doctor, she told me that Archana, you'll have to start with antihypertensives, and it was too young for the long, long, long life that I wanted to live, and a healthy life. So I had to make a choice. I had to take a decision, as in, do I want to live or depend on medicines, or do I want to, be independent, be free, be mentally free also. And that is where I decided that no, I will, whatever it takes, I will definitely work on myself, because stresses are going to be there throughout life, but I cannot lose this opportunity to live and live free. Okay, it's not just living, it's living free, no? Living with myself. I'm not dependent on any sort of medicines, and I didn't want to do that at all. Absolutely no. So that is where my transition took place. Yes, I actually added on to my stress in the initial days, because obviously you have a habit and you're trying to break that habit. You're already stressed because of so many things going on in your life. And so you have to make choices, and choices are really hard. But whatever your future is going to be depends on those choices. I really feel good. 3 years ago, if I wouldn't have made this choice of taking care of myself and living free and full, I wouldn't have been here today. I would have just been, any other lady or any other woman who would just sulk around complaining about life, or trying to get the pity from around the world, that, oh God, what's wrong with me? And in such a young age, I'm dependent on medications. Because I know that was hypertension was the beginning. It would have been followed and followed by so many other sorts of illnesses. I don't know. I have a very strong family history of diabetes, so probably I would have, you never know, right? So yeah, it does take a toll, but it's all a matter of choice. And since then there is no looking back. Like I say, after losing 30 kgs and after being chosen by brands like Lakme and Audi for their ad shoots, for their print shoots, it really feels on top of the world. Because yeah, being so huge and going skinny, I mean, I'm not skinny, I'm fit. Being fit and being presentable and participating in events like Mrs. India and all, it's been a journey, and it's been a lovely journey. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Because when you have says a fit, not skinny, because that's a very minute or thin line difference when we talk about this, and people do get misunderstood the same term. And I must say that you should be fit, not skinny. And with the same, I wanted to ask, any patient you have come across in your 9 years of clinical experience, would you would like to share with us, because it might give us approach to learn more. Any one case or any one experience in clinical journey.
Yeah. Okay. So in the past 10 years of my practice, I have definitely have had a lot of good patients with real good results. But I would like to share a very recent experience of mine about how the world is changing. Okay, there's this. I am already taking care of a patient. Now, this patient is a lady. She already has certain psychiatric issues, and she wanted, herself to be helped, and she's under my treatment. And then suddenly, her 7-year-old son comes up with a complaint where he is not able to control his sexual desires. Now, imagine a boy of 7, and the one good part of it is he was communicating everything to his mother. What we usually expect at the age of 11, 12, 13, 14, in we usually expect. Now, this is a boy, 7 years of age, and it all started after he had seen some video in some elder boy's mobile phone, and since then his characteristic symptoms were whenever he's looking at any lady, he feels like he is probably close to that lady. And the mother, which is so obvious, was very worried about this entire thing. Now, this case was really shocking to me also, because at the age of 7, we would not expect boys, girls, or anybody, kids, to behave or to be so open and communicable about what they are feeling, to be able to understand that yes, something like this is happening to me or happening with my mind. And he himself was not liking it at all. He wanted to get rid of it. He had become so shy that he really didn't even want to show his face to me in my clinic. It was that shy for him, but he was feeling it and he wanted medicines for it as well. So what would I would like to say about it, or what I understood out of it, that nowadays the youth, when I'm talking about youth, I'm talking about little kids also. They are really aware of their emotional states. And it is a fact. When I was a kid, I probably was not aware of all these things. Or if there were any changes in my mindset, also, probably I couldn't even convey them or communicate them with others. But today's youth is so emotionally compliant, or emotionally strong. They can feel, they can believe, they can understand, and they can communicate what they are going through. And in a way, it is very good. In a way, it is bad. Like every coin has two sides. It is bad because with all these emotions, they also have this feeling that nobody would understand me. And then the bad events which are happening in life, like suicides, or like, gaming, and then addictions, and all these things start happening. And the good side of it is, yes, if they have just one single ear to listen to them, definitely these youth, they can be so good in their lives in future. Okay, so it is currently happening when a young boy of 7-year-old, who is so open, so communicable, so aware of his feeling state. I am sure it's not just him. Majority of kids, majority of young adults are aware of their feeling state. They can be better motivators, better influencers, or better motivational speakers in real life. That is what I think. The adults should actually learn from these young kids of being open and trying to live their lives. Okay, and this was a great learning experience for me as well. Thank you, really thank you for asking me this question.
You're welcome, ma'am. And it is required to have a such kind of approach, because we never know which kind of or what kind of patient do we have to experience in our clinical journey.
Yes.
And that's a question or a choice we have to make to take it, challenge this is to forward. So my next question would be to you, because you were a vice principal in your journey.
Can I just excuse
Yeah,
me?
yeah, sure.
Can I just log in through my mobile phone, because I think my laptop battery is dying, and
Sure.
I haven't got my charger.
No problem.
I will just log out of this and log in through my mobile phone.
Sure, ma'am. So my next question would be to you. in your journey, you were vice principal, and that post is a really big post if we see. And what was your thought that you wanted to bring a change in the students at that period of time when you were handling that kind of journey?
Oh, that was really, really big. Um, what happened was I was chosen as the vice principal because I am a very disciplined person, and the faculty over there, the the entire disciplinary system was really bad at that time, and basically students were not attending college, they weren't wearing their uniforms, and there was no any disciplinary measures that they were listening to as well. So the first thing when I went there, I was chosen because, yes, I told you, I have a very, very different approach towards life. So probably the management thought that I am a good candidate to be there, to be handling all the internal affairs, because our principal was busy in handling the external affairs, considering the college. So when I went there, the first thing I did was I started forcing everybody to come to college, and you have to attend your lectures because the teachers are coming in, so you have to pay them respect. You don't have to attend college or lectures for you. You have to attend college and lectures for your teachers. That was my first thing. Okay. And the one who's not attending college or not coming has to call their parents. And that was my other dhamki. Actually, I did that. And the next thing I started doing is wear uniforms compulsorily. If there is a uniform given, there has to be a discipline maintained. If there wouldn't have been a uniform, it was okay. But then since it's there, it has to be maintained. Then it was like students wouldn't even turn up for freshers party or for any other party or even that was organized, because they never many I got this report from many of the students because that the events were not really very good. So yes, I tried to change that also, because yes, entertainment becomes a very, very important part in the development of any student. There has to be all these college events and all, they are supposed to be done. वो होने ही चाहिए, so that student can get a chance to explore themselves as well. So the quality was improved, and student participation was improved, and the whole thing in my mind was just one, that this is the time when the child's, I would not say the child's, when the teenager's mindset is fixed or shaped. If it gets shaped like this, there are a lot of chances that um, students might fall into pits or fall into habits which are not really conducive for their futures. And to avoid that, it is necessary to get them involved. And only when you get the students involved will a college flourish, because college runs because of its students. It's not because of the fees the students pay. It's because of the presence of students that a college would run. Since I was the vice principal, it was definitely my responsibility to take care of the students as well as the college. So I was just being a connection between the students and the management, and trying to take care of the students' well-being, and being very frank, students' well-being was my first priority, because management's well-being was being taken care of by our principal. So we had a lot of fights and tiffs, because at certain times it becomes difficult to manage students and the management together. But yeah, it was a great journey, and it was a great learning for me as well, how to deal with students. And it's not that I have stopped with the students. I was the vice principal just for a year, because then my daughter had grown up a little bit more, and she started needing her mother more. So that is when I decided that no, my family is also equally important to me, so I have to take care of her. And all the students, even after 4 years of leaving college, all of them are really connected to me even today. And I think that's my best prize, or that's my best gift that I could have got of whatever I did in that 1 year.
That's a great, ma'am, that how we have changed the journey of students of what they are coming as a professional life. Because college life we do learn and do understand is a professional journey. And if we shape our professional life in college in a very good way, our rest of the life will be taken care automatically.
That's
So, so ma'am, my last second question would to you. In this current information area, because we do
Hmm.
talk about technology, information, which is available everywhere. So,
Hmm.
what is the process for a common man to understand and to go through and process it for their any disease? Because anyone like Googling is a first approach now everyone is doing. But is it
Yes.
right according to you to have Googling rather than approaching a doctor or physician?
See, according to me, everybody has their own field of expertise. Okay. Googling can be a base for finding out or understanding how severe my disease can go. Okay. Whatever I'm suffering with. Okay. But every everything or every stream for that matter, not only just being a doctor, but everything on the earth, whatever people do, whatever businesses people do, is best known by that person only, or who is the expert in the field. So I really feel, in my personal opinion, just Googling never helps. Okay. Meeting an expert, taking the expert's opinion, and trying and understanding what actually is wrong with him or her is the right approach if you want to get yourself treated, and not just treated, cured. Cured. I believe in holistic healing. Holistic healing is everything. Now, if you Google for hypertension, you would understand, the causes of hypertension or everything in theory about what hypertension actually is. But what sort of hypertension you have, which area of your body is weaker, is more, there is more tendency for that organ or that part of your body or that system of your body to get affected because of hypertension. What can you do so that you can prevent it? Like, on the Google, we can find that walking 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day can, keep you in that normal level of blood pressure. But what is good for your body? 5,000 or 10,000, or your body demands more, like 15,000, or for your body, just 2,000 steps are enough? All these things can be known by your doctor better, because that doctor is the person who knows you through and through. Each and every person is unique. Whatever we find in our books, on Google, is general. So if you want to know something general about your illness or about yourself, Googling is there. But for a personal thing, yes, for your unique needs, yes, you should visit an expert always.
Yes, ma'am. So my last question would to you. Your journey says different altitude and multitude of personality changes. You do
Yes.
have a change of experiences in different fields.
Yes.
So, what would be your parting thoughts to all doctors and students who are going to watch this session with you?
Hmm. Thank you for this question, actually. My parting thought to each and every one, each and every student, each and every doctor who's going to listen to me, I must tell you, live to the fullest. This is the only life you have with the current identity. And it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even a bit whether you are pursuing the career that you have chosen as a profession, or you are not pursuing. Do what you really enjoy doing. Don't limit yourself anywhere, because limit is only over here. There is no other limit in the world. Limit is something that can limit you, and limit only comes from here. So if you are one person who thinks that my life is done now, I have become a doctor, maza nahi aa raha hai, but I don't have a choice, I have put in so much money, and now I have to be this, what will my parents think, what will the society think, etc., etc., etc. Leave it all, because it's it's fruitless. The thought is fruitless in the first place. You can always, always, I'm telling you, always, it is possible for each and every one, always, to come out of that mindset. Make choices. Don't do it because you have to do it. Do it because you want to do it. And only then you will be successful, only then you will enjoy. And with all doing stuff, always keep some time for yourself and your family. Because when you're on the deathbed, your patience, your profession, that is not going to come close to you. Who is going to be with you is your family. Always spare time with your family. Always spare time for yourself, because you are only responsible for your life. Nobody else is. You are only responsible for your health. Nobody else is. You are only responsible for how your life should go. You only are the one who makes choices in your life, and believe in yourself. There is no choice which is good or bad. Good or bad always comes up because of the end result. And calling something an end also depends on you. Whether it's an end or no depends on you. If you want to continue with it, there is never an end. If you want to really stop over there, it's an end for you. So life is all a matter of choices. If you think you are losing, change your perspective and go ahead. You will definitely find good results. Keep on going ahead until you find that desired result, and then call it an end, so that every end is a happy end for you. That's it. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. It's for us, it's not that's it, but it's a very lot of learning from your session, because always 40 minutes is not enough to understand a whole journey, but 40 minutes is enough to understand the journey, process of journey, and to live with the journey. Everyone can decide what they want to do, but the dedication, patience, and approach to the right goal is required, as what I have learned from your session. So thank you so much, ma'am, that you have given the entire approach for the human being, not as a doctor or as a student. You said to live as a human being, and if you live as a human being, your other criterias of working professional or a family man, or however you want to be, it can be taken care from your journey. So thank you so much that you have spared 40 minutes of your time with all of us to give a tremendous journey experiences, and hope we can connect in future with your learning. Definitely.
Of course, I would. It would be a pleasure, and it is indeed a pleasure to be connecting with you. And thank you so much for giving me this platform, for having me here, so that I could actually do my bit in however or whatever I can do in helping you shape your futures. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you everyone who are watching this journey exploration series.